وقالوا ما هي إلا حياتنا الدنيا نموت ونحيا وما يهلكنا إلا الدهر وما له بذلك من علم إن هم إلا يظنون.
What are the arguments for the existence of God, and what arguments might there be for believing that there is no God? So let's take the second part first. Why do people generally think that there is no God? Usually to prove a negative is very difficult. If I want to prove that there is someone here, then I may look for clues pertaining to the presence of that individual. Maybe his coat is hanging somewhere. Perhaps his favorite umbrella is leaning in a corner. And maybe his car is parked outside. These might be clues that the person is here. Not absolute proof that he is here, but at least some clues that will give us some assurance and some reason to look around for the possibility that he is in some corner, maybe in another room, somewhere here on the premises. So that's positive types of evidence. But if you want to prove that somebody is not here, how do you prove that? Now that itself is difficult. So for somebody to prove that God does not exist, that is already a difficulty, and we must commend someone for taking on that difficulty. If you want to prove that somebody is not here, you have to check every nook and cranny. You have to make sure that you've checked every room to make sure he's not in every, you have to check every stall in the washrooms to make sure that he's not in there somewhere. And then you can proclaim, I've checked everywhere and he's not here. So how do you prove that God does not exist? Where do you check? Where do you look? Do you look on Earth? Do you look on Mars? Do you look beyond the solar system? Do you look throughout the Milky Way galaxy? Do you go to our next neighboring galaxy, the Andromeda galaxy? Where do you look? And how many galaxies are you going to search before you can proclaim that God does not exist anywhere? It turns out that not only is it difficult to prove that God does not exist, but that if somebody says that God does not exist, he doesn't really know what he's talking about, because he does not really have proof. It would have been more respectable and intellectually honest if someone were to say, I did not find any evidence for the existence of God in the vicinity of my own experience. So far, I haven't seen him to exist. I haven't found him, but perhaps he does exist. So one has to have that sort of openness. If one has that openness, we would qualify that person as an agnostic, a person who says, I do not really know whether or not God exists. That's an agnostic. But if a person says he or she is an atheist, by definition, that means a person who believes that God does not exist. Now, if you believe that God exists, that's because you have been privy to some clues that God exists. Whatever these clues are, and however meager they are, but they are positive clues that work for you. They have indicated to you in some small way that God exists. Just like we spoke about noticing a person's coat hanging in a corner, an umbrella leaning against the wall, his car parked outside. They're not definite proof that the person is here, because he could have parked his car and left, or somebody else could have driven his car here. They're not absolute proof, but they are indications and clues of the possibility. But how do you prove that the person is not here? How do you prove that God does not exist anywhere? You cannot. So the person who says that God does not exist really is in an intellectually inadequate position.
حميم تنزيل الكتاب من الله العزيز الحكيم إن في السماوات والأرض لآيات للمؤمنين وفي خلقكم وما يبث من دابة آيات لقوم يوقنون واختلاف الليل والنهار وما أنزل الله من السماء من رزق فأحيا به الأرض بعد موتها وتصريف الرياح آيات لقوم يعقلون تلك آيات الله نتلوها عليك بالحق فبأي حديث بعد الله وآياته يؤمنون